at that point, you're not there to play it safe. Like if you're not taking risks, you're not competing.
It's empowering. I mean, anybody who's done a CrossFit workout, you finish your CrossFit workout and you're like, I'm on top of the world.
Yeah.
Like a hunger for competition and like that super intense structure, routine. I still had that desire.
Listen to the way people feel and the motivations for doing the things that they did. It was like they were describing me to a T.
I'm not trying to solve everything for you, but I know that sometimes you just need somebody to listen.
Learned the most is how to fill my cup by filling others.
Welcome to the Hungry Dog Barbell Podcast. Join me as I talk with passionate people about their life's failures and successes, and most importantly, what keeps them hungry for more. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Hungry Dog Barbell Podcast. I'm your host, Taylor Williams, and this week I'm joined by Kevin Forik, owner of CrossFit T1. Along with being a CrossFit affiliate, T1 is also an affiliate of the Phoenix program, aka Rise, Recover, Live. They offer free fitness classes to anyone with 48 hours of continuous sobriety. As many of you guys out there know, this is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. Along with talking about how he got introduced to that and why it's so important to him, we talk about how Kevin found CrossFit, what it's done for him and his family, and what are his goals going forward for the gym. Tune in for another great episode. It's crazy how fit you got to be just to go and get last place at the CrossFit Games. You know?
Right? Yeah, exactly. And I'll still won't be there yet.
Right.
Maybe
No, I'm not that.
And they drop out of those masters divisions, I might have a chance then. But otherwise, we'll stick to coaching.
Dude, I'm 32. People keep telling me, a few more years, you'll be in the masters division. I'm like, when that happens, all the really fit people are just going to be 35. They're not going to be they're not going to disappear,
Right. Exactly. And they've been doing it longer,
Right.
So that's the other advantage that they'll always have.
So they know how to game it. They know how the system works. They know how to gear their season. They know when to be fitter and when to be healthier. It's
right.
Two small, different, distinct things there.
Oh, very much so. Very much so from us.
So, what brought you to CrossFit? Did you work out as a kid? What was your high school headspace like?
Man, it was social, Easton was a very, it was a big school. You graduated with a lot of people, you don't even really know all the time, which was, sitting next to you at graduation, like, oh, who are these people around me? But
how big was it was a class? Do you remember that?
Couple hundred, I think it was just under 1,000 there, somewhere around that. So, it was big. It was a very big school. It's gotten even bigger at this point. I know when my sister went through, there's 4 years between us. There were many more in her class there. So, that's a little, different space there as well, where, she was an athlete as well. Our parents had us involved in everything, and as much as we could. And it was like, okay, well, what sport are you going to pick up this season, or what are you going to be? And it was like, basketball kind of fell to the, off to the side for both of us at one point. Height got the better of both of us there, and skill, of course, too. I mean, you had to be at a certain level even to play and do well. But yeah, I mean, she stuck to field hockey then, and that was her thing. I was going through high school, and mine was baseball. So, it was nice to you had the fall sport going on for her, and you had spring, with us. So, that was cool. And then afterwards, both of us just kind of stopped as far as that goes. And when it comes to working out, now, I mean, we got into the gym, and we had a pretty good facility there, but no direction, no idea what we were doing. It's go in, you work on the pretty muscles, do as many bicep curls as you can, and all this, and sit there and kind of shoot the shit with everybody. But no real direction, and that direction didn't come in until way after. So that was the other thing there. Even when we got started with CrossFit, was I was very out of shape. I was nowhere near where I wanted to be. And was definitely battling some weight issues at that time too. So, once we got started, it was like, oh, okay, cool. I can do this stuff then, but, had to fix up the diet and everything else to really dial it in.
Hell yeah. I feel like so few fitness programs before CrossFit were talking about true health, what it meant to take charge of your health for your future, for your kids, for your family, if you plan on having those things, and like what it meant to fuel yourself properly. Like as a kid that grew up mostly in the 90s, I was born in 1991. Like most of the stuff that we were eating was like TV dinners,
Yeah.
like microwave food, like whatever you could get that would be quick, and then like just eat the food. Like what was it like growing up for you and your family? Did your parents cook a lot? Were you eating home cooked foods, and what was your diet like?
I think there was definitely a lot of home cooked meals. We would kind of avoid those things. You'd pressure your parents into I think going out, like, oh, can we go grab this? We get some fast food or whatever it was. But we had we had options. And when we were, getting older, especially in high school, you were allowed to leave for certain amounts of time during the day. As long as, you had basically lunch breaks, and you could go off campus, whatever it was, we went home, we would grill sometimes. Or, literally you'd end up at like some kind of fast food place, like it was right around the corner. So, never thought about it. Never was like, oh my God, I have to have this much protein a day. I got to be eating, these carbs and watch this and, all that. Like, no, it was just as much, energy drinks back then as you could, which was like, getting those like you remember the Sobe bottles?
Oh my God, dude.
Right. So like that
Those,
was a
I
big
used to
thing.
crush those. You know what else I used to crush? The freaking, not an energy drink, but the Lipton iced tea.
Yeah,
But like the real big ones, dude, I used to crush
absolutely.
like two of those a day. And now I look back like, oh my God, my stomach would
Killing yourself.
explode right now.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
exactly. Yeah. You can't handle that anymore. But yeah, no, I mean, the nutrition was definitely not a factor. I mean, so both my parents, were educators. My dad was a teacher of middle school English for 30 plus years. My mom was health and phys ed teacher. And, when it came down to, and they both coached as well, so there was a lot of that going on. But when it came down to, you know, yes, we had a lot of home cooked meals. We had a lot of stuff that was done there. And, you know, grilling season was all year round, so that never
Heck
really
yeah.
stopped. So there was always something that we were getting that was, I guess, better in terms of that. But every now and then, yeah, of course, and even now, it's like, oh well, we get lazy sometimes. We got to hit the DoorDash, hit the Uber Eats or something like that. Order some Chick-fil-A. Kids are going to eat that too. So we can always, there's balance, but
Exactly.
it's definitely there's a focus. And when we're in this space, we also have to be the example. And as much as you want to try to be, like, you're also human, and those things, life gets in the way. So sometimes it's got to be that fast stuff. But yeah, it was kind of set back then, and we kind of worked with it as we got even older. So
Yeah. I
much
see,
better
like,
place now.
the big thing is, man, for my friends that have like kind of whatever age kids, actually, it's just put it in the example and like lead it from the front so that it becomes like a habit to choose the healthier option quicker than you would like the fast option, right? Like you leave the fast option there as an option so that you're not like going super hardcore one way, but building those habits early on leads to like a healthier lifestyle, and like thinking
Absolutely.
back now, I can clearly see it. Like, even though I wasn't focused on it back then, my friends that had the healthy habits just ingrained in them naturally versus a lot of us that were just like, hey, there's a McDonald's that's a mile away. I'm going to go eat that for dinner, on a regular,
Right.
because we had no idea what was better for us, like, so the people that just had it ingrained as habits, like they were set up for like future success that they didn't even know about back then.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a big deal now. So then, like you just said, your parents are educators, right? And I feel like a lot of kids that live through that, they want to become educators themselves, or they just feel like naturally they should gravitate towards that. Like, where was
Yeah.
your head at? What did you want to do as like a 17-year-old?
That was the last thing I wanted to do. I had nothing. I did not want to go into that space at all. And, I was like, oh, I'm going to go, I had no idea what I was going to do, honestly. Got to college and probably changed my major. I think it was 5 times. Bounced around from different things. I actually thought about education at one point, and then just, I wasn't dialed into education at that point. I was having a good time. I was doing the work, but, I took some extra time as well. Definitely didn't go to all the classes I was supposed to, even my freshman year. So I had to do a little extra time after everybody else graduated. I stuck on for another, half semester and finished up there, and actually, graduated a little afterwards. But it's funny because I left and I was like, all right, I'm going to go into business. I'm going to go into marketing or something like that, sales. And, because that's where money is. And I went into literally business to business sales at one point. I was like, went to this interview and and I ended up driving this guy around all day, and we drove from business to business and walked from business to business.
Oh.
And it was, I think, January, February at that point. So it's also freezing out. And he did well. He was really good at it. He could talk to people, and he, made right there. And maybe like, 5.5 hours out there, made a couple $100, and then you go back to the office, you do your thing, and then you're done for the day. I was like, oh, that's not too bad. So I did that for a little while. Sold, we worked, it was actually kind of cool because we got to work with some pretty cool organizations. Like we got to work with the Philadelphia Soul when they first came out, and they were getting really big, and we did the promotions for them. So, we would sell these cards, and on the card was like, hey, you get X amount of tickets for games. And then you also get to go to McFadden's across, where the ballpark is, when that was still there. And you got free drinks and appetizers and stuff like that. I got to go down, work with the Florida Panthers for a little bit. Did some stuff with the Nets for a little while, but then again, you're literally, I don't know how many shoes I went through. And then you're also walking around in a suit all day. So that was pretty gnarly. And it was terrible. Waking up early, getting home late, driving constantly. I was spending more time in gas than I was making money.
Wow.
So went into, then found like some HR headhunting kind of gig, and, I learned a lot there. I will say that I learned a whole lot about, just trying to talk to people, bring people in. And then it was like, okay, where are we going to place them? Do they actually fit any of the jobs that we're trying to hire for? And it still same thing. It was at a desk. It was like, best way I can describe it was at the time, like Boiler Room, like that, the first kind of version of before they could call it The Wolf of Wall Street, right? Before that movie could come out, Boiler Room, that was it. You're sitting at a desk, you got a Rolodex, and you're calling people, you're digging through resumes online, and it's like you're calling companies. And if you weren't on the phone, it was like you were doing something wrong.
Right,
So
wasted time. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, I was happy to finally get out of that. And next thing you know, here I go. I'm walking in, and I'm a substitute teacher, and I'm bouncing around from a couple different charter schools in Philly. And finally ended up at a smaller charter school in Germantown. And that was in 2007. And I was then teaching, I taught middle school history, 7th and 8th grade for, so 2 years at that school. And then I moved down to Southwest Philly. I taught 7 years down at a school down there. And then I moved up to a high school, and I finished out there in January 2019 is when I left education.
Damn, man. So before we move on to leaving, tell me about that transition period from being Boiler Room, like you just said, you're dealing with a lot of turnover, mostly reading the same script all day, and dealing with adults, to now you're trying to go educate kids. What was that transition period like?
It was interesting. And I think it was definitely easier to work with kids because I was still young at the time too. So even working with that middle school kind of thing, it was like, oh, there's a young guy coming into the school here. There's a young teacher, which, that had its own difficulties in itself. And, I had a history background from school. I have a history degree, which that you can do a lot with that. It's, you can pretty much go anywhere and do anything when you have a degree. So I used that, and I was like, oh, I loved history. So yeah, I'll go teach it. That'll be fine. And it just so happened that I was pretty decent at it, and I could do the story part of history, and I could tell the stories and get people interested and, have fun with what I was doing. And I made some, really great connections and things like that with, those I was teaching with. And I had an amazing mentor when I went down to the middle school in Southwest Philly. And I mean, he kind of just came in and was like, it's funny. It's almost very similar to when you go for your L1, your L2, and you've got these, your red shirts, right? And I mean, he was literally the first red shirt I had, and he was, a retired principal and teacher himself. And he's like, why did you do that? And it was like he never answered a question. He just kept asking more and more questions. And I was like, damn, like he makes you figure it out.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was phenomenal, and you know, a great guy all around. And so I tried to take that, and I tried to take what he did, and I saw how he interacted with not only other people that he worked with, but then the students. And like those relationships meant everything. And you know, when I got to the point where it was like, you know what, I think I've had enough of middle school. Because you know, you only get to see them go so far. You only get to see those students succeed so much, and then it's like, well, you never hear from them again, or every now and then they might come back and tell you about like, oh, what they're doing in high school, but then you don't get to see it afterwards.
Yeah.
So I wanted that experience, and I went to a high school then, and I taught everything from 9 through 12, and you know, different aspects of history at that point, but you know, that was cool, and then I actually got to see kids graduate.
Yeah.
And that was like, you know, that was the peak. It was like, okay, cool. You're going on to something. And, you know, again, I've had some students reach out, and recently even, and to see what they're doing, it's like, okay, cool. You did make an impact. So it's not always instant. It's not always that instant gratification that we want sometimes. You know, in one case, it took literally 17 years.
Ooh.
So to see that, you know, one kid, he's absolutely crushing it. And I mean, he's doing so well. And I've heard from another one recently who's same thing. He's like, yeah, I'm doing this now. He's working for an accounting firm. It's like, wow, that's really fucking cool. And other kids are lawyers. I got two that ended up being, you know, going into med school and becoming doctors. So yeah, it's very cool to see that. And, you know, to leave it was definitely good, because it's, you know, you're working in North Philly at the time, and you get to come home to a little bit better situation. Actually, you know, in many cases, it's a much better situation. You hear horror stories of the kids that, you know, what they go home to or what they don't go home to. And you can only carry that so far. And especially when then you have two young kids too, you know, that becomes, you know, it's like that weighs on you a little bit. And, you know, I was happy to get out of it too, though.
Yeah. You could love it. It could be a big part of your life for a huge phase, but then sometimes it's best to walk away to give back in another way.
You know, last week, a student that I said, you know, I had 2007, my very first year that I started teaching. He literally he knocked on the door in the gym here and walked in. Next thing you know, we're talking for an hour. We kind of kept in touch a little bit, but, you know, I was like, that was the one. He was that one that was like, he made it, and he is doing amazing things. So it's like, I kind of took that from my parents. I took that from the relationship that they had, that they kept along the way. And you see that now, and, you know, you see that in this role, and you see that in here when people walk in, it's like the first thing, it's like, hey, you know, how you doing? Like, what's going on? And I start a conversation with everybody as soon as they walk in the door. And again, it's just that whole factor. And you know, we do work with like the best hour team. So, you know, Fernandez and Ackerman, and it's like, you know, all those other guys, like the one thing that they preach, and it's like, it's true. Like, you have to care. And, you know, when Jen and I, you know, kind of got into this, it was like, that's why we did it. It was for the people that were here, because we do care about, like, just, you know, not only this place being successful, but about these individuals, our members that are coming in. We care.
Yeah.
So that was implanted very early on, and you got to see that.
That's awesome to see it, like, reverberate throughout the rest of your life, you know, like just be a continuous flow of like building these relationships. That's amazing. So how was your health at the time that you're teaching?
Terrible. I mean, I'm not even kidding. So we didn't start this whole CrossFit thing until 2012, right after we got married. That she actually drugged me to a CrossFit class. So again, this is all actually because of Jen, that we're even in this space, but my health was terrible. I was drinking a lot. I mean, almost every night. And at the time when we first bought our house, it was a construction zone for 6 months or so. So it was like, I would come home, we'd work on the house for a little while. And then it was like, you know, my father-in-law would leave, and, you know, my mother-in-law, and then she'd go back and, you know, to their house to stay there, and I'd stay in the house. And it was like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to have a couple of beers tonight. I'm going to have a couple of drinks now. And next thing you know, it's like 6+ some nights. And, you know, weight was out of control. It was eating like absolute trash during the day, and night. And I, you know, at my peak, I was probably about like 235, I think was the highest that I hit. And I mean, that was
How
like
much you walk
literally
around
just
at right now?
right now, like 192, 195. And you know, it was bad. I mean, I have pants still. Like every now and then there are a couple up in the closet there. It's like I pull them out. I'm like, God damn, like this is what I was wearing at one point. Or it's
Yeah.
like, you find something and you're like, holy shit, like what was I doing? And my saving grace at the time was that I worked for a sports camp in the summer. And so, do that whole kind of cycle thing, go drinking through the year, go out afterwards, go out, just a lot of unhealthy habits, that were really that got actually pretty bad at one point after, because Jen's in healthcare. So she's like, you need to go get some blood work done and all this other. I was like, all right. So I did. And it was like, levels are through the roof. She's like, you got to do something about this. But my saving grace, like I said, was this summer, this sports camp that I worked at. And, I got to play baseball all day again, but now I'm teaching little kids. It's like, we're teaching fundamentals, we're teaching them the game. And it was fun. And, the other counselors there, we would play basketball every day during lunch. So I was like, all right, I'm going to sweat it out. So come, end of summer, looking okay, still, I mean, there's pictures if you go back even to like the very beginning of when we started, and it's like you can see it's like, oh holy shit, like I'm carrying a lot of weight still, and it's all sitting right in that midsection right there.
Yeah, buddy.
And in my face and whatnot too. So yeah, everything was really bad. And it was getting to a point where it was like, all right, well, we need to do something about this. And that's when we jumped in.
So was it like Jim's like, hey, go get blood work done, you get the results, and then CrossFit shortly after that, or how did you first start trying to reverse
it was
that?
like it was like LA Fitness. There's one like right down the road here. So I was like, I'll do the Globo Gym thing. We both went out, we joined. She would go religiously. She would go to like, cycling classes that were either going on there, or she would go and, she would go before work, and then she'd go into the hospital. And then if I felt like it at the end of the day, I would go out there and, again, work those pretty muscles. Or like, there was one summer I came back, me and my buddy, there was a gym at home that we would go to, and it was like we would go every day. And I would do like his he was rowing crew for he was up at Boston, and so I do his like workouts that were like that. And I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. But again, it wasn't really like, it was all stationary stuff, isolated movements, and that was all right. But again, it still wasn't enough. So yeah, it was actually her friend was like, she joined a gym in Manayunk at one point, and she drank the Kool-Aid pretty hard. And what happens? What's the first rule of CrossFit?
You go talk about it to other people.
You go talk about CrossFit. Second rule of CrossFit, you talk about CrossFit. So that's all she was doing for a while. And I was like, there's no way I'm joining that cult. There's no way I'm going to be doing those things. Like, that's ridiculous. Next thing you know, Jen bought this Groupon, and we went up to Life Force, which was at the time in Feasterville. I don't believe they're there anymore. They might have branched off to another gym with some of the coaches there, but we went up there and we started. So come home from teaching in Southwest Philly, get home about like 5:00, race up there to get into a class at, 7:00 sometimes, get back at 8. And it was like, oh my God, like I first workout, absolutely. You're literally sitting on the floor wondering what the hell just happened.
Do you remember that first workout, what it was?
It was Tabata squats and then a mile run.
Oh, buddy.
So legs are absolute jelly, and it's like, oh, I'm going to push the run here. I was like, I could run pretty decent, but came back in. It was like room spinning. I'm like, I'm going to pass out. Like, this is bad. I'm going to puke. Jen had to drive home from that first one. And then she's like, all right, we're going back tomorrow.
Damn.
All right. Like, okay. And then we went back, and then we went back again.
And just kept going. That's what it is.
And
Keep
then,
walking through the door.
Yeah. And then fortunately, she's like, hey, by the way, this guy that her and her brother grew up with, he owns a gym right around the corner. I'm like, what the hell are we going up to Feasterville when there's a gym literally around the corner from us? So yeah, we came to T1 then in end of December 2012, beginning of January 2013. And we were members, since then.
Damn, dude. So at that time period, actually, first, let me say, I remember my first workout, and it was a Tabata too, but it was like wall balls, deadlifts, and toes to bar. looking back, I'm like,
Yeah.
who put this nonsense together? Because I was my midsection was lit up after that workout. I remember just
And
laying on
I'm
the
sure
floor for
days
a good
afterwards
10
too.
minutes for sure. I bought one of those like punch cards, I think, in the very beginning. So I
Yeah.
didn't go back. It was probably like a Wednesday or Thursday. I didn't go back till the following Monday. But the second class was like, after the first one, I was like, all right, that was like a little ridiculous. Like I kind of low key died. But after that second class, I wish I could remember that workout is the one that got me in,
Yeah. Oh,
with
definitely.
taking the Tabatas out. So at that time period, like you just said, you were a pretty good runner there. What was your diet like? Were you still drinking? Had you cut
Oh
back
yeah.
on it? How was that going?
No, it was still like one of those, always had the fridge always had to be full, There was it was ridiculous. It was like, all right, well, I'm gonna have a case of this, I'm gonna case of this, and a case of this, and we'll always be prepared in case, because we were young too. It was like a
Yeah.
lot of people, we were hanging out with friends, we'd go to each other's houses, everyone come over our house and our neighbors, it was like we'd get after it. And it was like they became like all night kind of things, all day, Sunday fun days. Um, whatever it was, there was always a reason to drink. Oh, it's, there's a game on, we're going to be drinking. Um,
Yeah.
Eventually it was like you get to that point. And again, this diet was, we would do certain things. Like Jen was way more strict than I was. And she would make sure like, all right, well, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to make these dinners from here on out, and which was good. And then we'd stick to those things for a little while. But it wasn't until, man, probably we did it was the first challenge that we did here, a nutrition challenge. And one of the coaches was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, how are you eating this? I was like, well, what do I eat? And I was like, oh, I'll eat this and I'll eat this much of this. And these things are like, no, like that's like, you're done. You're basically done. And I started getting all this, and it was like, I probably lost, I think it was like close to 20 pounds. So at that first challenge, I was like, oh, okay, so this is what it's actually supposed to be like.
Mm.
But I mean, I tell people new people when they come in, or even, people that have been here for a while, it's like, you can't outwork a bad diet.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, like that is going to have an impact. No matter how many hours you're in the gym, like that is going to be the factor there. You're going to overeat something, or you're going to do something that's, going to offset your numbers, and, you're not going to feel good the next day. There's going to be inflammation. There's going to be all of those things that, again, we should be preaching, that I was not doing at the time. So it took a while to actually really get into that. And it was like, we even had a group in here on the weekends where it was like, we do group workouts, partner workouts, and whoever lost, had to buy the beer for the next week. And then it was like, we're sitting out here in the parking lot, and we're drinking, and afterwards, after, the doors have been shut, the owner had left. He's like, you guys are on your own. Like, I'm closing the doors, but as long as you're out of here, it's like, it's okay. So we'd be out there, and next thing you know, we'd continue drinking throughout the rest of the weekend. And that really didn't start to turn over until I was like, oh, I want to get serious about this. I want to dial this stuff in. Like, I can't be, this fit fat kind of thing, So but it took time. It took a lot of time to realize that.
Was there like a catalyst to you changing your mindset to that, or you just finally arrived at it?
It was, performance. So I was like, well, why are these guys doing this? Or, you watch these games athletes, you see what they're doing. It's like, well, what are they eating?
Yeah.
Those were, I don't want to say they're the people that, they're idols or things like that, but like, those are the people that you do at the time, even when you're starting, it's like, you look up to, it's like, oh shit, like Rich Froning, like, my God, like, look at him. And, look at these other guys that like, that's what a CrossFit athlete looks like. And, that was not me. That was not us. That was really different. So it was like one of those things. It was like, okay, so what do I have to do? And the previous owner at the time was like, what? Like, he literally got in my face. It was like, what the fuck are you eating? And what are you doing that you're still killing yourself, basically? And you go back, you do side by side comparisons of pictures. It was like, holy, like, I was fat. It was bad. Like, there was no neck, you know what I mean? So we had to, we turned it around. And once we did, it was like, it's a process. You're going to start small, and you're going to make those adjustments as you go, and you find out what works. And then I mean, for the past several years, I've literally had the same breakfast almost every single morning. And like, I watch what I do. I track every now and then as well. If I know I'm getting off base, I go back to tracking again. So And it's all about that performance. You want to be better. And then you also like, you want to be an example. You can't, talk it and not walk it.
For sure. So, like, if I'm sure you have this conversation with people all the time as a coach and affiliate owner, if somebody's out there and they were like in the same path as you, right? They want to have their day one be today or tomorrow. Like, what's something simple they could do right away, either take away or change or add in to start having that healthier lifestyle?
I mean, it all starts with somebody like walking in the door and having the courage to do that, because that's sometimes very intimidating for individuals. Just walking, like people can reach out all the time and say, "Hey, I'm really interested. I want to come in." It's like, okay, just walk in the door.
Right.
And it's like you can't force them in. But once they get here, then it's like, okay, hey, awesome. Like we have goals conversations with individuals when they walk in here. And we're doing that right now. We're asking all our members for short-term and long-term goals. It's like, how can we help you achieve those? How can we help you get there? Because not everybody knows. And even, sometimes, like the other day, a coach came up and we were talking and just about like, wow, I've started to notice like the changes that, the things I was doing before, I'm going back on those, and I'm going back to those old habits, and I'm just eating kind of whatever, and performance is suffering. It's like, cool. Well, what are we doing? Let's dial it in. And, that's, I think, the most important part there is like just listening to people and what they need, and then starting to guide from there. You know what? Start drinking, half your body weight in ounces in water a day. See what happens. Those little things, start not necessarily like measuring all your foods and all your macros and all that, but just kind of watch what you're eating, maybe journal what you're eating, and then we'll look at it together and we'll go from there.
Yeah, for sure. Something I just said this on the last podcast with Amy Broccoli. Also, like, I'm going through a phase where I've definitely let myself slip and get out of shape. And the biggest thing to me, I listen to a lot of the CrossFit podcast stuff. Andrew Hiller just said on this podcast one time, "Hey, if you're not watching what you eat, you're not a real CrossFitter." And it sucked to hear, but it's like, that's so true, because that's how I originally got into CrossFit, was like these people were talking about what you should eat and what's going to help you fuel your body the best. So if you're not doing that, like, you're not really a CrossFitter, because everyone works out, there's so many different things that like look like CrossFit from the outside, but that's what kind of separates us, and not even kind of, that is what separates us from like just a regular person going to the gym, just going to LA Fitness, besides the community aspect,
Yeah. I mean, the base of the pyramid, nutrition.
For sure. 100%. So tell me, like, how do you keep going? Like, what's the first thing you notice? It's like, all right, this is working and I want to stay on this train.
When it comes down to that, it's really about, and we've done the nutrition coaching ourselves. We've done challenges recently. A bunch of our coaches went and we got the precision nutrition cert. So we've worked with a lot of our members, and like we've worked with people that know what they're doing. Black Iron Nutrition is another one that Jen works with consistently, and it's like that. It's the commitment piece. That's the biggest factor when it comes down to it, is how committed are you to it? And are you going to stick with it? Are you going to allow yourself that, 80-20, which, 80-20 is good. 80-20 is great when you come down to it. If you can even dial that in there, it's like, one of those things where if you get back to it, like you know what you can go back to, what it's like to slip, but you know what it is to then get back on track and start feeling good. And it's like, oh shit, you know what? I just, ran my fastest 800. I just ran my fastest 400, rode my fastest 2K. Like, well, what led to that? Well, I started changing some things over the past few days, even, just hit some monster lifts, like fantastic. Like those things correlate to each other. You can't have one without the other. And, I think there's just an accountability piece that we all hold each other to. We're all very honest with each other here in general. But like, we'll say like, oh, well, what are you doing lately? Like, are we partying a little too much right now? Or, what's the nutrition look like? Just that little simple question. It's like, oh, well, it's this, this, and this. It's like, okay, well, maybe we just need more sleep then. Maybe we need a little more rest. Maybe we actually need to take a legit rest day. And I've had that conversation with a lot of people where it's like, you know what, that you can come in and you're only going to row today. That's your job, is sit down on that rower and do nothing else. And just a nice mild row for maybe 30 minutes. Go from there. and then just see how you feel afterwards. Cause that's all part of it too. Rest days are built in. Look at .com. Rest days are built in all the time there.
And they're super important. I mean, so how do you guys go from just being members to now owners of T1?
I was thinking about this. Like, I think no matter what, every member has that conversation with other members, whether you are just hanging out or, you're in the gym or you're out of the gym. It's like, damn, how cool would it be to own one? You know? And I mean, I think that's everybody, you get into that, and I don't think it always comes to fruition by any means, because it's a big freaking leap. But then I was like, I really want to do this. I think this would be really freaking cool. Like, I think I could run a business. I've seen how, I mean, granted, we only saw this one. We only saw T1, and to see kind of how things were going there, it was like, yeah, I mean, even the previous owner, like, his whole thing, it was care. It absolutely, care was at the front of what he did. And he just wanted healthier people. That's what he was all about. And he wanted to help people. And it was like, damn, I appreciate that. And I was like, damn, that's all it takes. And he's, at the time, because again, he's been around, or T1, he started T1 in 2010. So, December was our 13th anniversary. And it was like, he had it going this long because he cared. So, that was something that really transferred over to us. And we saw that. And it was like, you know what, after I stopped teaching, and because I was also coaching at the time, I coached baseball as well for the middle school. And, I just missed that connection. And, I moved on, and I was doing, I still do, pharmaceutical supplies. So, I sit at a computer now, and I make sure people are getting all their supplies that they need to run studies and trials and whatnot. So that was, that gets you so far, and it makes you feel pretty good that you are helping people in that aspect. But it was like, I missed the coaching piece. So I actually drug, another member with me to my L1. He's coaching with us, for us now as well, but we went in 2020, I believe it was, and got the L1, and I was like, started coaching almost as soon as I got the approval. You get that email back, like, congrats, you've passed. I was like, I that Monday, I was like, Sunday night I found out, Monday I started coaching. And it was amazing. Went out afterwards, and like, just kept going with it. It was like because all this stuff, it's fascinating. It blows my mind. I love learning more about it, and like the little intricacies of it. Went and it's like, oh, I would love to bring a kids class in here. There was another coach at one point who was doing kids and working with sports groups and whatnot, sports teams. And so I went and got the kids cert. And after the kids cert, I was like, oh, I got to go for my L2, like right now. I can't stop here. I have to be a better coach. And that's all it was at the time. It was just like, I got to be a better coach. And then things started actually kind of, progressing. COVID obviously did some damage to a number of gyms, and, ours being one of them. And, the members, they stuck with it. The previous, owner, GM, they both got on board, and they're like, hey, we'll do online workouts. We emptied this place out. We took as much equipment. My garage was loaded up with as much stuff then. It was like, you still got to do something. And, it got to that point of, there's that whole thing. He had an opportunity to move on to another venture, and he stuck with that. And then it got really serious about, I guess it was August of 2022, that he was like, I'm going to start thinking about, I'm actually selling now. And, I was like, oh, that would be really freaking cool if it actually happened. And it wasn't until a little while later that someone else kind of came up and was like, hey, why haven't you said anything? Like, why haven't you guys gone up and done it? It's like, I don't know, money wise, like price, what it's going to come out to, but what's the commitment going to be? We both have, Jen and I both have full-time jobs. I, at the time, wasn't having to go into the office. So that was nice. And I was able to, I worked from home, and then I can come over to the gym when I needed to. And, I would coach at night, and I would do my kids' classes on the weekends. and that was all good. But then it was like, wow, if we're really going to do this, like we gotta be fully invested. And, I think there was, there were some other things that had transpired that was like, all right, well, maybe we'll actually start to think about it. And then the conversation started December of 22. And we started going back and forth and talking about, kind of why we would want to do it. And it was that piece that we talked about before, because we cared. We had, a decent number of members at the time, and they were all, they're a second family. You come in here, you see them every day, you see what they're going through, you see when they're not doing well or when they are, and it's like you care about these people, and we couldn't let that really go to anyone else, and because this place is important to us too, and we've been coaching here for a while. Jen went and got her L1 now, her L2 as of January, but we decided, yeah, we're gonna make that leap. Let's do it. We pulled together everything we could, and we sat down with the owner at the time, and was like, there we go. So February 7th, 2023 is when everything was officially signed over.
Damn, dude. So you're a little over 1 year in as affiliate owners and first like full-time business owners. Like in this first year, tell me first, what's been like the biggest oh shit moment? Like, oh, are we really doing this?
Yeah, I think it was when we really broke down what it would take to, one, keep it going. So February we started and was like, all right, well, let's see where membership's at. And, we started getting all those numbers and everybody that was actually like, we had this monster list. And then we started going through and weeding out through all of the stuff that was in Wodify. And, we had some just kind of personal quirks with Wodify and the way that was working. And then Chris Spallina with Phoenix, actually, he was like, hey, you should check out StreamFit. Next thing you know, we check out StreamFit, and then we bring all of our members into StreamFit. And it was like, oh, okay, so here's our numbers. It was like, oh shit, we really got to start building. Like we have to get to a certain point. Like right now it's pretty much break even, if anything, in the beginning. And that was kind of scary. But it was like, well, we have to work at this then. We really have to put in the effort. We have to put in the time. And, the cool thing was like the kids, we put a broom in their hand, and it was like, all right, guys, get to work in here. So, they started sweeping and doing all those things, and, started to help. And we started to just kind of chip away at all the little things, space, the space itself in the gym here. We started moving some things around, like those little things. And it's like, it's funny just to see what members notice. Like how many times do you move like the PVC pipes or the bands and things like that? And it's like, they were over there one day, you move. Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, okay, flow. It makes sense. You walk in, you grab your PVC, you grab your band, you're good to go. We started adding on like just a few more pieces of equipment, like in the beginning, which was nice. And it's been slow upgrades, but then it's also just been about the fact that like, hey, we want to grow this. We want to help these people that are here, but there's more people to help, and there's more people to take care of. And, that I think became a major thing. And we kind of dove in head first. And just not, I don't want to say keeping our heads above water, but I mean, we're treading pretty hard, and it's been fun. That's the best part. It's been fun to do it.
That's awesome to hear. So I know that it's all about the community and everything, and just taking care of your people is a big part of like keeping T1 going and staying afloat. But what's been something that's happened over the past year for you guys that you're like, all right, like I'm fully committed to this. Like that was awesome right there. I want to keep getting this feeling.
Our holiday party was a big thing. We had, we had about over 75 people show up for a holiday party.
Wow.
So February then of 2023, that would have almost been the entire membership at the time. So there were a lot of people missing from the holiday party, which, was a great time. And we gave away awards, and it was like when we honored our members, and we honored, people that have been here for a long time. I got connected with this guy randomly, who does woodworking, and among many other things at this point too. But I asked him to make awards for us, and it was like, we gave these awards out. I took plates that were, busted up. I cut them in half, and we bolted them to, these like makeshift kind of platforms basically. And it was like, hey, you're our most improved for the year. And it's like recognizing these people that have without them, without these members that have been here and stuck with us, and then, or stuck with T1 for so long, but then to also stick with us, like we wouldn't be here without them. So it was like recognizing all of their efforts and everything that they've done and their support was, I mean, that was all we needed. It was like, this is why we do this,
Yeah.
And I mean, you take things like, of course, you can take those little wins and those little victories, like the Open, and it's like, damn, so many people got there first. This Open and this, this past year, a couple of months ago, people got there more first, and you just celebrate those things and you honor those people and you recognize like what, the work that they've put in, and I mean, that's what keeps you going. That's what your drive is, day in and day out.
That's amazing. That's so awesome to hear. So like, this is within your first year, we get announcements from CrossFit home office that they're going to be raising the affiliation price and then also requiring people to have a minimum of level 2. What's going through your head when you're getting these like updates and alerts?
Okay. It's like, all right, we got to do it. That's what we have to do. That's what we have to do. Fortunately I had my L2 at that point. So then it was just getting Jen to get hers. So like I said, she was just out of KOP in January. So she got hers. We had another coach go with her as well. That's the other thing, is like, we're trying to actually level up all our coaches at this point, because why not? You want that member experience to be the very best, and you want them to get the most out of it. It's their hour of the day. It's their time to come in, cut loose, do their thing. And if they just want to work out, then great, they want to work out. But you know what, if there's people that are in here that want to push and want to do that extra and want that critiquing and that cueing, like, we're going to give it to you. Like, we're leveling up our coaches so that we can be better for our members. So it was like, no, that only makes sense. Like, why would you not want to get better at this? And all of our coaches are part-time. They're, we don't have one full-time coach or GM at this point. Like, they're coming in, on their off hours or when they can during the day to coach. And then they go back to doing what they're doing. And it's like, I appreciate them so much and all the effort and time that they put in. And then it was like, okay, that $4,500 price tag of, being an affiliate, I was like, all right, well, they hadn't raised the that fee in how long? What was it, like a decade?
Years? Yeah.
Something. Yeah. I mean, I think we got lucky in that, the time that we did take over, it was already kind of covered, by the previous owner, which was good. So we only had to put out then, I think, we were still under the grandfathered rate, which was nice. But this year when it comes up, we'll be ready for it. We've budgeted for it. We've planned it all out there, that if that's what it takes to, be a CrossFit affiliate, then we're going to do it. We owe everything to what they've done to this point to get us even here.
For sure. I love that. It's like, all those raises are kind of just going to be like, require people to be better business minded, right? Like,
right. Exactly.
Outside of just being a super successful business, like, hey, whatever you have going on, you have the opportunity over these 12 months to budget to get this. Like, this is an opportunity for you to look into your numbers and figure out what you have to do, what you have to move around to be successful enough to do that. Right.
Yeah. Right.
So on the other side of that, in your past year, how much communication, positive and negative, have you gotten from home office on being a better affiliate? Because they are trying to do things. What's your take on all that?
So I mean, actual HQ home office, we haven't, there hasn't been much, it's like, hey, okay, your affiliate fees coming due. That was about it. And like, oh, you're going to put out the information that there's all these resources on the website now, and all that stuff's there. That was great. Okay, good. I don't like necessarily, if you're your own business owner, you're your own entity within them. Shouldn't you be doing that though on your own as well? Like, that's, I feel, the responsibility of the affiliate owner to make sure that you're running your business the way that you want to do it. CrossFit provides all of that stuff. I mean, there's marketing materials on there. There are, there's videos to actually walk you through. I mean, there's a playbook. I was actually looking at this, even more recently. The playbook is how you set up your affiliate, how you are going to set up your space, how all of those little things, the conversations to have with people. There's a whole section in there, breaking down the intimidation for new people walking in. All of these resources are there. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't use them, or at least, take it and make it your own. I think that's the whole thing, is like, we should be doing that anyway. we're not the gym up the street. We're not the gym down there. It's like we're on our own. Like
That was
you
the
do
point,
you.
right?
Right. Exactly. That's the whole thing. And these resources are there. Use them. Absolutely. And there are so many other resources out there. I will say, like working with the one communication that is consistent all the time is the Northeast affiliate group. And the amount of communication you get from them is phenomenal. I think, Danielle Williams, she puts out tons of stuff all the time. And you see what's coming up, you see the events that are going on, whether it's, I think competitions are even posted on there or whatnot, but, there's all these other resources, when affiliate meetups are happening, when, I don't know if you've looked at it, the partnerships that are on.com.
Yeah.
Like
the people that you can work with that enhance the experience at your affiliate. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all of those things. And then the perks you get are like the discounts that you get through some of these companies too. It's like, it's all there. Just got to use it. You actually, you have to be the one to use it though and put it in play for your affiliate.
Yeah. It's not supposed to be a hand holding time where like you're going to get the person that's in charge of the franchise to come and show you how to do everything. That takes away the magic of CrossFit,
Exactly.
One of Glassman's earliest quotes is the cream will rise to the top. That's just what it's supposed to be like. Hey, I'll show you how to do these things. I'll give you the keys for it. And now you go do what you think you should with it,
Right. Exactly.
So on that note of the Northeast affiliate meetups and stuff, you guys are hosting the affiliate Northeast meetup in collaboration with the Phoenix. How did you get involved with that program? Was that already going on at T1 while you were a member there? Like, tell me about that.
Yeah, no. So that got started out of a post actually. So over 2 years ago now, because we've been hosting for over 2 years. Gavin Young, who works with the Phoenix, posted something about it, and I randomly just started. I was at a competition, and standing in line waiting for our first event, and just started, talking to a couple guys that we were in line with. One of them happened to be Gavin, and we just kind of knew a lot of the same people, and then kept in touch after the competition. And he posted this thing about bringing the Phoenix or what the Phoenix is doing and how it's bringing that stigma of addiction out of the basements and into places where they can benefit. And I was like, oh well, this is the most natural thing that could happen. Like we are all about health and fitness here. Like, why wouldn't we, bring this into, or why wouldn't you bring this into any affiliate and just start helping people? And I was like, so he came in one day and he sat down at the time with myself and the general manager, and we just kind of talked about what the Phoenix is going to, what they're about, but then also how we can help and our experiences with addiction. And, Gavin told his story, and it was like, I was like, oh, like, cool. And you then started this, and it was like, you found something else. And actually, I mean, like, it's kind of funny and ironic, I guess, a coach that was here previously, he had started his own organization because he lost, friends and family members to addiction. And so we were doing it was called the Redemption WOD. And we did that here for several years. And, that was something I was like, oh, okay, they kind of planted the seed for it. Like, this is another avenue. But then when I saw what Phoenix was doing, I was like, oh, this makes the most sense. And I knew that we had current members that were in recovery. And I was like, oh, well, maybe we can just offer this even for them. This could be something that would really just, they could even bring people in if they wanted to.
Right.
So, we talked about it. We talked about everything that, what that first class looks like. And thank God Gavin was here for our first class that we hosted, because him or even Chris Spallina, they really put kind of not their own spin, but just like they can lend their personal experience to why this is so important. And, we had 30 plus people here our first night that we hosted. We had members, we had non-members, and we had like those, just our allies and supporters of those, if they weren't in recovery. And it was incredible. And that first one, I was like, holy shit, this is really cool. And the next thing you know, it was like every single week afterwards, there were new people coming in, and there were, whether they'd come for one time, whatever it was, maybe it wasn't their thing, that's fine. But people still come in, people still drop into our Phoenix classes. And we, like I said, we host them every single week. We're Wednesday nights at 6:15. And we just basically took a class that was kind of like an underperformer and we integrated it. So it's for everybody. And I think the support from our members is what's the biggest factor there. And we've gained members from it. So that's another thing is, there are people that come in and it's like, oh, this is really amazing. And not only do they come every single Wednesday night, but then they become full-time members too.
That's amazing. It's amazing to see like them continue on, right? Like that is the goal. Like, hey, I want to help you fill this hole, like whatever you're suffering from, like I want to give you something that's going to be a better habit to develop,
Right. Exactly.
That's amazing, dude. So at this point now, like, what are you hungry for? What do you want for yourself? What do you want for the gym? Like, what are your goals going forward?
Yeah. I mean, we want to keep growing T1. We want to keep this thing, we want to provide the best experience for anybody that walks in the door, regardless of, they've done CrossFit before, they haven't. Like, I want you to come in. I want you to feel like this is going to be, just a memorable experience that's going to want to keep you coming back every single day. We have drop-ins that come in that, when they come into town for work or whatever it is, they drop in here because, we've provided that for them. And I just want to keep that going. I want to provide more for, our members that are here, but also, keep it going for Phoenix. Cause I think that that's been one of the biggest things that we've done has been to, give people an outlet. And that relationship that we've built, I mean, that's been incredible because, we honor those people too. If members are coming up on our Phoenix members specifically, or even our, our daily members, if they come up on milestones, like we celebrate them, we basically create a hero workout for them and it's their milestone. So, we've hosted several and, it's all about them. We take their date and we like ask them their favorite movements and we design a workout around it. And that's like one of those things where it's like, oh, you get to see this, like, oh, damn, like sometimes people get buried based on the movements they pick. And that's the cool thing too, is like, wow, that was a workout you just made up on the fly kind of thing. But, we'll keep coming back for more and you'll see how this whole thing works. And, that's been the beauty of it. But it's like, we want to keep this going. We want happier, healthier people in general, and we want people that, you look at it like, okay, we've got a lot of parents in here. We've got, their kids are coming in for the classes. They're seeing that. Like there's so much that goes down the line then to say, well, you want to do this when you're older too. You want to be able to play with their kids. You want to be able to do, and, right now, a lot of people are getting their yard work done, right? Our members are taking pictures or photos of them throwing, mulch bags over their shoulder and carrying it around, or, they're doing those things. And it's like, my workout of the day is getting all this mulch from the driveway to the backyard, or, it's like you're contributing to that. You're giving back to them. And it's like, they're showing off their fitness. They're showing off what they are now capable of doing here. We had a guy come in. He's only been here 3 months. His cousin started here back in, I want to say maybe like September, October. He's been here now for, I think it's just 3 months. He's down 29 pounds.
Damn.
He comes in, he fist bumps everybody when he comes in here. It's like, he says, he greets everyone regardless. Like he's mayor of the 5 p.m. class. And we have a couple of those because that 5 p.m. class, I mean, they're amazing. So our other classes too. I mean, I'll put that out there. Like our other classes are as well. But, he comes in and it's like fist bumps all around. And he's like, I'm down 29 pounds at this point. He's like, what else can I do? How else can I get in here? His cousin's down, almost the same thing, probably 30 pounds in the time that he's been here. So you look at that and just like, you can do that for more people. There are more people out there that you can help. And, we're the solution for it. Even, Jen being in healthcare, she's in palliative and hospice. Like she has another, she's on the back end of everything there. Like that's where things are really in trouble. And, she's combining now her experience with that and with CrossFit and trying to put them together because, I mean, of course, like if we can prevent what's happening to those people down the line, and so they don't need that kind of care towards the end because they didn't take care of themselves, then we did our job.
Yeah.
Like Glassman says, we hedge chronic disease and we take care of that. We're on the front lines of it. So we just have to help more people. We got to be out there for them.
My favorite Glassman quote ever, man. Go see the swim instructor before you have to see the lifeguard. And your
Exactly.
CrossFit coach is the swim instructor to give you all the tools so that you are able to go wade out in the water. And of course, the lifeguard is the person that saves you after you have already descended too far down and you can no longer save yourself. Kevin, it's been a great episode. It's been great talking with you, learn about
You
yourself,
as well, Taylor,
T1,
man.
and
Thank
all
you.
doing all these different things. And I will say that you are doing exactly what like I try to gear my life towards, right? Being a resource for other people, helping them to lead a full life, man. And I love to see all the different people in the CrossFit space doing that.
Oh, thank you, Taylor, man. Really appreciate it, and very, very cool experience. Thank you.
Heck yeah, man. Well, I'm sure we'll be crossing paths soon. Like, are you going to the Phoenix Classic this year?
We will be there.
Heck yeah, I'll be there too. I'll be judging for year 2. Year 3, I think, actually.
Awesome, man. Yeah, we'll be there. We got 2 teams going out, so it should be a good time this year. 2 teams so far. We're trying to build some more.
Awesome. Wait, did you do it last year? Were you one of the masters?
We did.
Man?
We were second place last year.
Were you? So you got in on it at the very end where there was that 3-way tie and you had to do the assault bike? Oh,
that bike?
Man. Oh,
yeah.
Man.
I still, I don't think I felt anything like that ever since. And I'm really, but I don't know if you know this too. So Chris, he then was like, we finished that last workout. He's like, great job, guys. The ice cream truck rolls up. He takes us over to the ice cream truck and it's like, all right, I'm buying everybody ice cream right now. And then as we're sitting there eating the ice cream, he comes back over. He's like, guys, I have some really bad news. So the 3 of us are sitting down and we look at him like, what are you like? No, there's no possible way. He's like, there's a tie. And there's so 2, funny. It was like, there was like 2 ties, I guess it was. And he's like, you got to go head to head. And here's the event.
Oh.
And I looked at him. I was like, you better bring that trash can right next to this bike right here. And yeah, we actually, we pulled it out somehow.
Yeah.
But that was absolutely, I think he actually did it on purpose. I think he got to see ice cream first and then told us, but
That's hilarious, dude. I love that. So I knew the first part of the story. I was there. I was standing right next to Sarah when she came over and told Gavin that like you guys were gonna have to do the bike because there was that tie. Like I remember. So hearing that part just makes the story so much better. Yeah, but shout out to Phoenix Classic for an ice cream truck pulling around at that time. At the end of the day,
it was perfect. It was timely.
Salute to that. That's awesome, dude.
Chipwiches were not the best choice.
This has been that's hilarious. This has been a great episode with Kevin. If you guys are in the Willow Grove area, go check out T1.